This video is brought to you by Sailrite. This video will walk you through the steps that are required to make a PVC pet bed, including frame construction and mesh fabric sewing. To start building our elevated mesh pet bed, we need to build the frame, which will be made out of a Schedule 40 PVC pipe. The size of the pet bed cot should be determined by measuring from the nose to the rear, not including the tail, of the pet when laying down and adding 5 to 7 inches to that measurement. The PVC pipe and the side outlet elbows can be picked up at most hardware stores at a very low cost. We will show a materials list at the end of this video. We'll be making a rectangular frame for a small dog, so we will cut 2 lengths of a 24-inch and 2 lengths of an 18-inch out of the PVC pipe. PVC can easily be cut with a hacksaw. We also cut 4 legs that will be used for the feet. They equal 3 inches for our dog bed. We lubricated the pipe with a dry silicone lubricant just to make it easier to take it apart after the frame is measured. We need to build the frame to get accurate measurements for the mesh fabric pattern. That's what we're doing now. It is important to make sure the pipe is seated all the way into the side outlet elbows before measuring. This can be accomplished with a rubber or vinyl mallet. Typically, the frame will be slightly crooked and will not sit flat on the ground. Just drop the frame until it is sitting flat. We are now ready to take measurements for the patterning of our mesh fabric. We will use a flexible tape measure since we need to measure halfway down the side of the PVC pipe. So all we need is a width and a length measurement. Be sure to measure from the middle position on the sides of the pipe, as this will produce a nice tight fitting cover when completed. Write those measurements down on paper for future reference. Next, we will lay the frame on top of our mesh fabric, then use a yardstick and measure over 4 inches on all sides, marking the fabric carefully and striking a line that will be used as a guide to cut the fabric to size. This 4 inches of extra fabric will create the sleeves for the PVC pipe frame you just created. We have chosen to use a Sunbrella Sling fabric, which is a great outdoor fabric for these type of dog beds. You may also use a Fifertex or Fifertex Plus fabric. It too is a heavy-duty and wonderful outdoor application fabric. We're using Sunbrella Sling fabric for our pet bed cot. Sunbrella Sling combines the durability and strength of vinyl with the softness, great color selections, and UV resistance of Sunbrella acrylic. This fabric is durable and hard to rip, and it can easily be cleaned, making it perfect for dog beds. A second choice of fabrics for this dog bed cot is Fifertex mesh fabric, which is 100% vinyl coated woven polyester mesh. It's excellent for outdoor climates, tough enough to withstand the dog's claws, and easily cleaned by hosing off and scrubbing with a soft brush. This makes Fifertex Plus another great choice for pet beds. Sunbrella Sling and Fifertex mesh fabrics are easy to sew even with a home sewing machine. You can find a large selection of both these brands at Sailrite.com. Cut the fabric to size with just scissors. In preparation for the corner cutouts, we will mark the fabric at the end of the side outlet elbows. We are using a yellow grease pencil to do this task. If you don't have that, you can use a pencil or a marker. Take note that some marks made by a marker or a grease pencil may not easily be removed from the fabric. Then we will mark the inside corner at each corner. Angela will now carefully trace around the line, which will allow the cover to fit around the corner hardware of the PVC frame. The marks we made inside the frame at each corner are typically about a ½ inch too far into the cover fabric, so she will trace about a ½ inch away from that mark at each corner. Now just create a gentle curved line. If the curved corner cutout is a gentle, gradual curve, it will be much easier to install the binding in a later step. A side note, you can just create one of these corners, cut it out, and use it for a pattern for the remaining 3 corners. We're not doing that here. Now you can see all 4 corners cut away, and you should be able to see how the sleeves will be created. We're going to use a 3/4 inch right angle binder to sew this binding in place. We will also be showing you how you can sew it without a binder on the last corner, just in case you don't own a binder attachment. We're using a vinyl stamoid binding here, but Sailrite stocks many other types that will work also. You can see that we just feed it into the binder, then simply guide the fabric into the binder's feeder. The binder does the hard work of folding the binding neatly on the edge. At the beginning and the end of our sewing, we will reverse the stitches to lock the stitches in place. And continue to sew along. The great thing about a right angle binder is that it's wonderful for inside curves. However, a right angle binder will not typically sew the heavier bindings. So you need to pick a binding that is rather light if you're going to be using a right angle binder. This corner is now finished. Let's now show feeding the binding on the edge by hand without a binder attachment, because that is rather simple also. You can see Angela folding the binding in half and placing it over the corner's edge. She then will sew a few inches and stop, reposition the next run of binding over the edge, and then repeat the process. It is always a good idea to bury the needle in the fabric when you stop. This will keep you from actually losing your position in the fabric as you position the binding on the edge. When we get to the other end, we will do some more reversing to lock the stitch in place, and we'll cut the binding so it's flush with the edge. We like to use some scrap fabric and cut it to size and then fold it over one side of the zipper's flange. This gives a finished look to the underside of the dog bed and also reinforces the zipper. It is not required, but we like to do it. A finished length zipper is required since the zipper must separate completely to install the frame. Here Angela is checking to be sure the zipper is not too long. If it were, she would cut off the stops on one end and then install zipper stops or fold the zipper under at the end when it is being sewn on. That way the slider will not come off. The length of this finished YKK number 10 zipper is perfect, so we do not need to cut it down to size. Here we are sewing on that scrap fabric to one side of the zipper. When we get close to the zipper's slider, we will stop sewing, bury the needle, lift the presser foot, pull the slider out of the way, lower the presser foot, and continue to sew. Now we will fold the scrap fabric back onto the opposite side of the zipper and sew it down the length yet again. Take the zipper and match up the flange edge with the edge of the fabric, and then sew it in place along that edge. Be sure the slider puller is facing down. When you come to the zipper slider, stop short and follow the same procedure to move it out of the way and continue to sew. Next, we will fold the fabric back so the fold is right up against the YKK number 10 Vislon zipper teeth, and then we'll sew it there. To create the sleeves, just fold the fabric back and measure the width and the length so they match what you previously wrote down on the scrap paper. When it matches the measurement, mark where the fabric edge falls on the main body of fabric. Do this at a few points along the edge so the fabric will be sewn down straight, and the fit will be perfect when the frame is inserted. Once you have a few lines struck down, strike a line across at that location so we can use that as a guide when we sew it. Follow that same procedure for the opposing edges. After it's marked, we can now sew each sleeve pocket down. We're going to use a small pony clamp here to keep the fabric in place as we take it to the sewing machine and sew. The first stitch should be about 1/4 inch away from the raw edge of the fabric. Be sure to reverse at the beginning and the end to lock your stitch in place, and keep the edge of the fabric lined up with the struck down line. Insert one of the PVC pipes into the sleeve to see where you can sew a second row of stitches. You want this second stitch to be as close to the pipe without interfering with the insertion of the pipe. Before sewing, remove the pipe, but keep in mind where the second stitch should fall. Follow that same procedure for all of the sleeve pockets except for the zippered sleeve. For the zippered sleeve, we will mark the ends of the zipper so we know where it should fall. Then remove the opposite side of the zipper and sew the other side of the zipper at the correct location. It's not a bad idea to run 2 rows of stitches that are very close to each other here. The cover is done. We just need to disassemble the frame and reassemble it with the fabric cover in place. To do that, use that hammer. We're going to show the assembly of the frame inside the sleeves in double time. The frame will fit very tight, but you should be able to force the ends of the PVC pipe inside of the side outlet elbows. The zipper will also be very tight and tough to start, but that is exactly what we want, so the cover fits as tight as possible. Nice! Here is the materials list showing the supplies we used and the tools required. You will find a large selection of Sunbrella Sling fabrics or Fifertex mesh fabrics at Sailrite.com. If you have questions, be sure to give us a call. For more free videos like this, be sure to check out the Sailrite website or subscribe to the Sailrite YouTube channel today. It's your loyal patronage to Sailrite that makes these free videos available. Thanks for your loyal support.